I'm excited today for you to hear another story of abiding. Nathan Carlock is one of our young men who's been called to plant churches, and he has an incredible story to tell about just discovering how when God calls us, He completes the call and He prepares us for the call. So enjoy his testimony, and I'll come back and share some things after.
Hey everybody, my name's Nathan Carlock. I go to the Gathering Place Colleen, and I'm one of the 4 pastors there right now. And my story of abiding actually started several years ago, but I didn't quite understand what it was. It all started with a Facebook advertisement for cheap flights, and I was interested in it. I have that adventurous spirit, and I was like, I'll do something crazy. And I started looking into cheap flights to Iceland, and it was a couple hundred, but I also said, who goes to Iceland? What's the purpose of me going to Iceland? And next thing you knew, I found myself at a church conference up in Louisville, Kentucky. And I was meeting with a pastor there who writes for the Gospel Coalition, and he was asking me, if you could go anywhere on a mission trip, where would you go? And I quickly realized I had never done anything like that. I was very apathetic in my faith, and it really trumped me. I didn't know what to answer with. So I just threw out Iceland. It was the only place I could really think of that sounded missional, sounded like really cool. Well, turns out the Lord had a lot in that, and the man I was talking to was good friends with a pastor in Iceland. He connected me with him, and next thing you knew, the next day I was meeting with one of the elders at the conference, and he told me to buy a ticket. So I thought about it for a while, but it was kind of scary just because I was 1 year into college, not a lot of money, and the idea of going across the world was foreign to me. I came up with every excuse I could. I said, I don't have enough money, I don't have an income, I'm a broke college kid, I haven't ever been a leader. Like, how could the Lord be telling me to do all this? And very quickly, within days, the Lord gave me a job. The Lord gave me an income. A family member from California sent me money to provide for this trip. And next thing you knew, it made a lot more sense for me to do something like this. But yet, I still didn't want to, because it was hard. And it was kind of like Jonah. He just really didn't want to go because he knew what the Lord could do. And he was very fearful, and I was too. I wanted to go every other direction I could except go across the world by myself. But next thing you knew, I did it. I bought a ticket. I had faith in the Lord. I believed what He was calling me to do was where I could come to know Him a lot more in the end. I flew to Iceland by myself, and when I get there, the only guy I knew was gone. He was gone for a couple of days, so all of a sudden I'm in this country by myself and I don't know a single person. So I sat down on the southern coast of Iceland on the beach in a town called Vik for 2 days by myself, and I just sat on the beach and I prayed. The passage over and over and over that the Lord brought me to was actually John 15. And now that I've come to understand that John 15 is this one chapter in the middle of John that just describes a really cool characteristic of God, and it's that He's near, that He is the one that does it all, that does all the work, and apart from Him I can't do anything. So here I am in Vik. I'm sitting in my hostel room, and there's 6 other beds, and 6 women come in, none of them speak English, and they're all talking together, and I start to get very fearful because I'm across the world by myself. And like the one thought that came to my mind was I couldn't drive home if I wanted to. Obviously I'm on an island, so I was freaking out. I started weeping, like literally weeping, and I didn't know what to do. I wrote up this huge text message to send to my dad to convince him to get me a ticket to come back sooner because I was supposed to be there for 14 days. But I opened up my journal and I just started writing. God, I'm confused. God, I don't get it. I don't understand. Why am I here? And it was a really cool way that the Lord spoke to me. He orchestrated me to write out that my calling has trumped my emotions right now. And as I looked at those words, I didn't really know what they meant. But as I looked at them, I started to understand that He's called me to go there. And that calling is a lot better than the way I feel right now, because the enemy will do everything he can to tell me that I did the wrong thing. It was very clear that the Lord called me to go. So fast forward on this trip, I get connected. I feel very confident the Lord called me to go. I go on 2 other trips. We just recently got back from one, and we are very confident that the Lord is calling us to go plant a church there. And a part of this whole process of me coming to understand what it means to trust the Lord, I've understood that He's a provider. I've understood that He's faithful to the calling that He gives, and He shows you that you can't do it yourself, that all these things He's doing behind the scenes are really cool. One day I was sitting at work at the coffee shop, and I was just letting my flesh get to me. And I was saying, there's no way the Lord would call me, a super young guy, to really do all this. And I threw open my Bible, and it actually landed on John 15. And as I read the words, it says, as the branch cannot bear fruit by itself unless it abides in the vine, neither can you unless you abide in me. I'm the vine, you are the branches. Whoever abides in me and I in him, he it is that bears much fruit. For apart from me, you can do nothing. And I looked at that and I said, I'm trying way too hard. I'm reading into things. The Lord wants me to abide in Him, to rest and understand that He's doing all this work, and that I can be a part of the journey by just coming before Him. Just a few days ago, I'm still in this process of learning, but just a few days ago, my morning devotion was this. And I read this to several people, the ones that believe they're called to go with me to Iceland, but most of all, this passage right here gave me full confidence over and over again. But it's Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 6, and it says, for you are a people holy to the Lord your God. The Lord your God has chosen you to be a people for His treasured possession out of all the people who are on the face of the earth. It was not because you were more in number than any other people that the Lord set His love on you and chose you, for you are the fewest of all people, but it's because the Lord loves you. And I read that and I said, I'm a weak person, but the Lord is using weak people like me to show that He's the one that gives strength in the first place. In the end, I get to see that all these things that were tough, these things that I had to come to understand and obey, it was worth it. It was worth it in the end. So that's my message for you guys, and be praying for us as we still are in the process of learning when the Lord is calling us to go. Love you guys, and see you later.
Well, I hope you heard in Nathan's testimony the different elements of the abiding cycle. When Nathan felt God calling him to go to Iceland, or when he began to feel God speaking about Iceland, was through a Facebook post. He met a guy at a collegiate conference. He saw a video on the Icelandic, the ministry in Iceland. A number of different things had come along. He didn't share all of that, but these things were ways that God spoke for him to know that God was leading him to Iceland. The obvious faith challenge for Nathan is that he didn't feel qualified. He's young. He also has no experience in ministry yet. Had just finished his degree, and so he was doubting whether he should go or not. But he obeyed and went to Iceland on 2 different trips, and continued to listen to God in relation to that. And when he went to Iceland, God began to unpack this whole ministry and all the possibilities for Nathan. And again, he didn't share a lot of the stories that we know have happened, but the thing that God spoke to him or showed him was that he was faithful. He continued to speak through His word and circumstances to let him know that this was his call on his life. And at the right moments, when he was doubting his call, God came through and either spoke through his father in one case, He spoke through the word in another case, to remind him that God's the one that calls us, and when He calls us, He will complete that call. So Nathan is learning so much right now about God through his commitment to continue to pursue something that he doesn't feel qualified for. And maybe you're in the same place. I hope this encourages you in relation to a call to ministry or a call to some job in your life, whatever the case may be. If God gives you a call, he will be faithful to continue to speak that because God is faithful. God bless you.